kind of what we think is going to happen when we start to do our research, and we have a general idea of where we're going with our essay. Now that we've done that, we have to start moving into really kind of building the bulk of the essay before we start writing it. So the first thing you want to do, of course, is go to the course content, scroll down to week 5. Of course, whenever your date rolls around, it won't be grayed out, but nonetheless, let's go ahead and click on it. And that'll be February 15th to the 21st. And of course, you'll have a couple videos here uploaded. I'm going to upload those as soon as I finish this one. But the very first thing, of course, watch this video, and it'll be the first in line, even above the week 5 reading. So watch that video first. After you've watched this video, then you want to start going into your textbook and kind of diving into chapters 6 and 7. 6 in particular is one that you're going to want to look for and kind of spend some time on, because we're going back to the idea of ethos, pathos, and logos, because we're starting to build up what we need to do, and that's what it's talking about here on this first block. When we get into ethos, pathos, and logos, we kind of start looking at what are we going to use to prove to everyone that our hypothesis is most likely correct. We have to prove it so that people want to join us in believing whatever side of the argument that we're on. After you've read that on chapter 6, then go ahead and watch the ethos, pathos, logos video here where it says ethos, pathos, logos. Check out that video. You'll notice that it's actually from week 1. We started talking about this quite some time ago because we've kind of been building off of it ever since. But now we're kind of returning back to it so that we can get an idea of really how does this work in building our entire essay. Well, in this case, we're using it to prove what we think is correct. After you've done that, you've watched that video, watch my video for the week. It'll be posted underneath the ethos, pathos, and logos, and in that I kind of explain how to do the week 5 reading assignment and the essay structure for writing project 2. Now, in short, for the week 5 reading project, and I'm kind of reading this here from the bottom, from right here, choose at least 2 categories from ethos, pathos, and logos, and one must be logos, because whenever we write these essays, it's the causal analysis essay, you're using logic to prove that this relationship exists, so you're naturally going to use logos as one of them. Other than logos, I want you to choose either ethos and pathos, or excuse me, either ethos or pathos. If you want to use both, if you want to use ethos, pathos, and logos, go for it, but you're only mandated to use one other besides logos. Everybody has to use logos, and you can pick either ethos or pathos to add to that. But nonetheless, explain exactly what proof you plan to use in proving that your hypothesis is correct. Basically, you're saying, this is what I believe, and you're talking to your audience, and you're saying, this is what you should believe as well, based on this proof or this evidence, and that's what you're going to use ethos, pathos, and logos for. Logos, you'll use a logical example. You'll use logical data, maybe a graph, a pie chart, some other kind of visual representation or some kind of physical evidence. But then also, think about an ethical or an emotional point of view that you could also take on when trying to prove that basically you're right. When describing your proof, be sure to explain which category. So under this assignment, the week 5 reading assignment, you'll give me your pieces of evidence. What are you going to use to try and prove your point? But then also tell me what category they fall under. So if you give me a pie chart, of course, that will fall under logos, so you tell me that. Now, if you talk about an ethical perspective of a certain group, maybe if you're talking about that pro-life view on abortion and you're talking about a religious group, you might talk about how they're ethical and how they hold themselves to an ethical standard, and they're ethical people. And so there you're talking about ethics, and so you would kind of categorize that under ethos. And the same thing if you did emotional, you would categorize it under pathos. And there's no word count on this week 5 reading assignment. Just make sure that you're clear when you tell me what evidence or what proof you're using, and tell me what category that falls under. After you've done that, we're creating an outline for our essay. This one's super easy. You just need at least 250 words. So tell me basically your introduction. In your introduction, you're going to focus on your thesis. So for this assignment, write it just like this: introduction, and then write your thesis. After you write that, and then write literature review, but then immediately following that, tell me what you're going to cover in your literature review and get in order to get your audience up to speed on your topic. So if you're going to talk about a pro-choice perspective on abortion, then give me kind of a historical background. When did pro-choice really become an idea, or in this case, an ideal maybe? When did people start really considering it as a good idea? When did it really start to gain speed? Basically, tell me what point are you going to start at, what point are you going to end at. Imagine if you're going to tell me what you thought is the cause of racism. Well, if you're going to give me a background on racism, where are you going to start? Are you going to start way back when? Are you going to start in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s? Are you going to start 2010 and just work your way up to 2015? You have to kind of give me an idea of what you're going to tell me whenever you're trying to get your audience up to speed. Let's see, the causal relationship. In this guy, you'll explain to me the relationship that you're trying to prove, and that can really just kind of be one sentence. Evidence. What research are you going to use from outside sources to prove that your hypothesis or your relationship exists? And then last but not least, the conclusion. When you're writing your conclusion, this outline, this is an entire essay, this is only 250 words, so it's just an outline. But whenever you're doing this conclusion, what point do you want your readers to walk away with by the end of your essay? Now, this will probably be some sort of variation of your thesis, so what I always suggest to students to write in this point is just to reword your thesis, because ultimately that's what you want your audience to walk away with, your thesis. And if your thesis changes from your introduction to your conclusion, well, then you have a problem, and you should really try and make those two blend together. But don't just put like your thesis in the introduction and then you give me the exact same sentence down here in the conclusion. Reword it a little bit. That way you can use those actual sentences when you write your essay. Last but not least, the works cited page, and that's pretty self-explanatory. Show me what 5 sources you're going to be using for the Writing Project 2 essay. And once you get that done, then those 3 assignments, you give me the ethos, pathos, logos, and your evidence. Give me a brief outline of your essay, and then upload your works cited page. Now, it's certainly fine if you have the same topic from Writing Project 1 and you have the same sources. It's perfectly fine to upload the same works cited page. Of course, if I gave you suggestions to change, make sure you make those changes. Don't just turn in the same assignment. But it's okay to turn the exact same works cited page with corrections made, as long as you have 5 sources now. In the Writing Project 1, you didn't need 5 sources, but now in Writing Project 2, you do, so make sure you've added a couple more sources. But in short, that's really what we're doing this week, working on those 3 assignments, watching the Ethos, Pathos, Logos video, watching my uploaded video, which I'll put up here, and then, of course, watching this video to start things off. So if you have any questions, as always, make sure you get in touch with me using either Skype, email, text, or phone call, and just make sure you get in touch if you have problems, because if I don't know you have a problem, then I can't really help. So make sure you're getting in touch with me if you need anything. Other than that, just keep on working. Everybody seems to be doing well, and I will see you next week.